Thanks for joining us today on Live Music Nation. I am with Chris Semrau, and Chris is the current general manager at the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City. And of course, you all know that event. They are the home of the Oklahoma City Thunder. So Chris, welcome today. Thanks for joining me. Give me just a little bit of background. You've got an interesting background and a couple of moves here. So tell me, first of all, tell us where you're originally from, where you went to college at, and let's go from there.
Yeah, well, it's great to be with you today, and I'm happy to do a brief snapshot of background. I grew up in North Dakota, and was lucky enough to go to school at the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks. We came right out of college when an individual named Ralph Ingolstadt announced he was going to build a state-of-the-art college hockey facility for 12,000 attendees. And I was lucky enough to get in on the ground floor, one of the first 4 individuals hired to build and open that facility. And worked there for 14 years and got married and had some kids. And from there, I moved down to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and built and opened a brand new venue in that market called the Denny Sanford Premier Center. It was a very successful venue and did very well with lots of tours coming through the market. We did that for 4.5 years before getting a call about an opportunity to come to Oklahoma City at the home of the NBA's Thunder.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So let's get right into the pandemic. What was that like at the start, in the middle, and where did things go? Because it was my understanding, we were hearing rumors, and you always hear talk, that really Oklahoma didn't shut down much, and other states like Missouri and Nebraska, the Midwest states, didn't shut down as much as, say, Kansas or Colorado or further towards the east. What was the pandemic like for you guys?
Well, the unique aspect of the pandemic for us is we were really ground zero. Whereas on March 11th, it was the Oklahoma City Thunder playing against the Utah Jazz that really set everything in motion. I was with the governor that night when he received the call that the first confirmed COVID cases in Oklahoma City had occurred, and they happened to be Utah Jazz player.
Oh, yeah.
We were getting ready for tip-off in about 20 minutes. So we had to quickly engage the Thunder. The owner called a commissioner of the NBA, and they said, stop, don't play the game. Had to quickly get all the players off the court right around introduction, into the locker room, and then quickly had to evacuate the facility safely. That was the first domino in what started the pandemic. Once that happened, the NBA announced they're going to pause the season, and at that point, within 24 hours, every single tour, tournament, event across the country had canceled or postponed, and it all started in Oklahoma City. So it's been terrible. It's been awful
Sure.
in the last 600 and some days. And we were the only NBA team that did not host guests last year, which made it extra special this season to come back and start hosting guests in October. So when we talk about how was Oklahoma, like, we were definitely shut down. We were probably more of a middle of a road state. But with the NBA stopping with fans, at least for us, and the tour stopping, it's been non-existent for the most part for a long time. We started this spring to inch back with events with the PBR and Monster Trucks and Cody Johnson and some other events to this fall with an increased calendar of shows. But most major tours have all pushed back to early to mid 22. So it's still right now very slow going for extra events. But when it does return, in 22, I believe it's going to be a renaissance. It's going to be very heavy from the content side for the next 2 years. So if we can continue to prepare ourselves to be successful at that time, when we hit the road running, it's going to be a 5th gear all the way. There's so many great things to look forward to, not only in Oklahoma City, but across the nation and venue.
Well, your optimism is exactly what I want to hear, what everybody else wants to hear. I like, so you just told me that story. You're sitting there with the governor and they get that phone call. What emotions ran through your head in that moment?
I'll never forget. I mean, my heart absolutely sank.
Yeah.
Because it became very real very quickly that this is going to happen, and this is going to come crashing down quickly. At that time, we thought it was a 60-day problem.
Right.
Never in a million years thought it was going to be a 2-year problem. But it became very frightful that night, and now before COVID was around, so people were very concerned. So after you evacuated the building, your staff and the guests are wondering, like, are we getting sick? Are we in real danger? Are we going to die? And you're still trying to learn about the disease. And there was a lot of firsts that it forced us quickly to respond. Luckily, we have a great organization here locally, as well as our partners with Oklahoma City Thunder. We work very closely with them. But it was pretty scary because there was no playbook. There was no one else that had gone through this that we could call and ask. It was happening in the moment. It's live on CNN across the country, and there was a microscope on what was happening in Oklahoma City. The next morning, a second player that was here tested positive, and so it really just the dominoes escalated and tipped so fast, and that we're still recovering from, and will for some time. So it's unimaginable the effect that has had, but we're bullish in the future. We use the time to prepare ourselves for success down the road.
Right.
And we didn't just sit around. We were very busy during that time preparing the venue, our staff, procedures, and strategies. So as we return, we could do so even better than before.
What events from your past? I mean, you obviously handled this entire thing very well, and the city of Oklahoma City has been very appreciative of what you do in that community. What events from your past do you think, looking back, prepared you for that exact moment when that phone call came into the governor?
Probably very diverse moments. It's probably moments when you've dealt with adversity. It's the 50th Academy of Country Music Awards, doing a stadium show at Globe Life Park when we had a massive storm rolling through and we had to evacuate that park, or working at We Fest in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, when we had weather issues or crowd issues. I think each one of those hard moments prepares you better for challenges you face down the road. I'd love to go back and redo March 11th again. There's things I would change, but I'm thankful for the tough moments we've gone through in the previous chapters. I do think those give you instincts and knowledge that you can apply to hopefully be a stronger leader in those moments.
And so, are you guys at full capacity now with your NBA games and concerts?
Absolutely, 100% full capacity, and each show, each league, each event has their own different COVID-related procedures. And so we handle those on an event-by-event basis, and we adapt to what the producers want to do. The Oklahoma City Thunder have one approach, Michael Bublé has another approach, and Alabama has another approach. So we really cater each event to the producer while keeping safety and security as the main focus.
Sure. So when we talk to large, small venue owners, we consistently hear the same thing from arenas to clubs to churches. Attendance is somewhere between that 40 to 60% number. What do you do? We keep hearing the same word of habit. People got out of the habit over the past year and a half to 2 years of going out in public, in socializing with their friends and attending events. What can venue owners do? What can general managers do? Club owners do? What can pastors do to get people back into the habit of public events and feeling, whether it's just a feeling of safety or if it truly is, they just got out of the habit? How do you reinstitute that into your facility?
Yeah, I think that's the $64,000 question, right? A lot of people haven't attended events in almost 2 years. Start doing that again will be changing their cadence. I think first, you have to limit uncertainty. I think when there's uncertainty in the market, not necessarily financially, but just around in everyday life, I think the things on the fringe, like attending sports entertainment, may be the first things to get trimmed. Financial challenges, I think those all play into it. I think once we come out of this, which we will come out of this, I think that's going to slowly build confidence from the consumers, and they're going to continue to increase coming back to events, sporting events, concert, touring events, family shows. But it's going to take a little more time because sales are down. I think your A-list events and performers are not experiencing that, but the other ones are. And people who bought tickets prior to the disruption for those events that are playing off now, there's a good percentage of those that aren't being redeemed and people are just not showing up. So there's absolutely a change in landscape. But whenever we faced something like this in the past, it does always come back. People do prioritize, entertainment, sports, and creating moments and memories, which is what we do. And
Right.
do value those things and position their pocketbooks accordingly, or they do want to come back. It's healthy to engage with other consumers and create those moments. And so I have no doubt that it'll continue to return, and when it does, it'll be on levels unprecedented most experienced before.
Very good. So I just love the phrase that you said, creating moments, because I have a producer, and that's his whole selling point, whether it's music or entertainment. What are some future things that you have coming up in your arena that will help create moments for people? What are some examples of things that you're going to do?
Yeah, there's so many great events that we're getting ready to announce for 2022. We're also trying to do the little, moments inside the venue that we can control. Your Instagram locations and different food and beverage offerings and new technology, and we want the experience to feel different than it did prior to the disruption. We want people to come back feeling that we took that time to invest in the experience and technology and the facilities, and so they have a great experience. That hard-earned disposable income that they're contributing to events, that they feel that's a good value proposition and they want to come back. We need to build our consumer base back up again. And I think that'll happen little by little with the excitement of new event announcements and events playing off. So I think it's going to snowball into a positive progression for things we're doing internally, with event announcements. I think all that excitement is just going to exponentially build over time.
Great. What do you look for when you're looking to bring events or artists into your arena? What's the number one thing that you look for?
Well, we surely want to make a splash with the events we bring. It's nice to have some of the tried and trues, but what can we be on the cutting edge of? What hasn't played here before? What are people really interested in now that they haven't seen before? What's the artist that's never played the state or the city? How do you think bigger than what's been done in the past? And so you try to find the unique things that are really going to get the wow response when you announce it. And so those are few and far between, and it's a cutthroat, challenging industry, and booking's hard. So we've developed a great team in our facility with a very forward-thinking strategy, and we're intentional about going after events. And hopefully, the fruit of that labor will be shown in 22 and 23 down the road. And we think we're positioned for success to host some mega events in the next coming years. Very cool.
So a couple last questions here. I want to talk strictly about leadership in your role as a general manager. You obviously have been promoted at each level, and you're doing a tremendous job in your community. Give me three general words of advice, 3 tips that you can give the future leaders in your industry, and also in any industry as leadership is enrolled. What are 3 qualities that you would encourage them to strive after?
Qualities or approaches that would come to mind is, I think, understanding that people support what they help create and engaging other people in the process. So it's not just a top-down leadership approach. I think being present is important, especially in time of crisis. Retreating to the log cabin to get away for a few months is not, I think, an effective approach. I think it's being accessible to your team so they know that you're in it with them. You're not too good to do any job alongside them. And I think it's strengthening and celebrating the success of strong culture. I think it's making people feel valued and making their work experience better each and every day. We live in a very tough industry where it's not necessarily a family first job, and people spend a ton of their time here, nights, weekends, holidays. So if there's little things we can do for them to make that experience better, we try to do so. We've got a great leadership team at Paycom Center that thinks about that every single day. And I think my job is to try to influence outcomes and give them the resources they need to elevate that environment.
Can you give me an example of something that your staff does or that your team does for their employees, because they do invest so much time away from their family? Can you give me an example of what that would look like?
I mean, it can be something as simple as properly acknowledging birthdays, holidays, anniversaries of those people, to focusing on the spaces they work in and trying to update and elevate those throughout the year. Cohesive activities where you have socials or potlucks or happy hours or
Sure.
contests, and something as simple as a office fantasy football league builds great camaraderie and good chatter on the water cooler. So all those little things help. Each one by themselves does not make a good culture in an organization, but a culmination of many of those can help turn the direction at Ocean Liner little by little. And so that's what we're trying to do here. It's an ongoing process. We're not where we want to be. We always want to strive to do more, but I think we're on the right track. The trajectory is in the right direction. I'm very thankful to work with the people who I work alongside.
That's awesome. One last question to the young man, to the young woman sitting in a high school classroom right now who dreams about the position that you're in right now. What advice can you give to them? What's a key to what's the key to getting where you're at and becoming a leader and a business manager today?
I think there's two things. Number one, good grades is not enough. You got to get involved in other activities. You've got to find ways to diversify and show that you have leadership qualities and you're involved in other ways. Each of those organizations you get involved with is a new set of peers and friends that you maybe would not have normally met. I think being involved helps you become well-rounded. Number two, just get in the door. It doesn't go from human resource desk to GM. Do anything to get involved. Become a ticket taker or work in the merchandise store. And from that, make your interests known that you want to do more and you want more opportunity. The people who can add value to the organization in this industry specifically quickly climb the ladder. And so I see people jump leaps and bounds just once they get in, but you got to get in. And that first job isn't going to be a dream job, right, nor is a second, third, or fourth job. But just get in. Even if it's an internship or part-time position, get in the arena, and from there, position yourself for other opportunities. And I think it'll be a fast track at that point.
That's awesome. I love it, man. That's so cool. Chris, thank you so much for your time this morning. I appreciate it greatly. Your advice is invaluable to so many. So thank you for joining us this morning, and we'll see you down the road.
All right. Best of luck to you. And I value the time. Thank you.